this is Acid Roots Wired. So this is part 21 of the Devil May Cry playthrough as far as what's going to happen here. So we're going to get past this particular mission. I say we only have like a small handful of these left to really get to as far as the impact of this particular game. So eventually I am going to purchase Devil May Cry 2 within those pitches to get towards it. The actual reality of it is, it probably feels like this is taking a lot longer just within the pitch, but this is really only like my second year of playing this within the concept. And for the most part, it may only be like the 10th or 11th month, but between the fact of me kind of starting this game as a playthrough in February of 2022 and then not coming back to it until June of 2022 and then only playing it from that point until October 2022. So I only really played this game for about 5 months on like a streak, and then I came back to it in May of 2024 until about this point. So it's really only been about a year and a half that I've been playing this game. So it's within the realm behind it, but we are past the halfway point as far as those fairs going to happen. If you don't know terribly much what's going on with this particular game, it's just kind of the aspect that there's 21 missions in this game. We're on mission 12 or 13, so it's just within the pitch, but I am going to start getting these belted out a little bit more within the fair behind it, so we're going to get towards it here. I do have like the occasional surprise popping up on Acid Roots Wired. Now, I admit, just dealing with the standard goings about it, personal affairs, just with aspects like that, and then also with the continued busyness of Acid Roots music, I realized that I had a little bit more like appetite for video games back in October, November compared to now. But I look within the pitch as far as saying that I still want to get this game completed here. It's just within the pitch, but I just don't know if I'm going to tackle 5 games at once like I was originally intending, because I was going to actually start up another game in January, but I just kind of sabotaged that, realizing that it just would have made, like, if I would have done that back in January, it just would have kind of made the trajectory about juggling these 4 games that I had probably just a lot more difficult. So I will eventually get to that one, but I just realized amongst the aspect behind it that, I mean, these games are going to get beaten either way, so it's just kind of within the pitch as far as saying that we're just going to get towards it. But I do want to start focusing more on Devil May Cry, because I realize that this is probably the second lengthiest one that has been taking me the time to do. By this stage, I have completed Guitar Hero. That was back in the fall of 2024, but I'm actually getting a lot further in Guitar Hero 2, and once I get past that game, I don't know if I'm going to consistently continue to just juggle 4 games at once. I may just focus on only 3 and just get towards that aspect. I am going to eventually get more games. I mean, I'm not going to beat like every last PlayStation 2 game, but I just look at the pitch as far as saying there are going to be a few more of these. But yeah, this Phoenix boss here is kind of annoying. It's just within the pitch. It's just the concept that I was originally thinking that you had to attack this enemy head on, but really all you have to do is just shoot him with the gun as far as those aspects are going to go. But I'm just not really sure as to how to avoid those attacks that make Dante go up in the air, because it's just aggravating within the pitch, because it doesn't really share with you the technique as to what to necessarily do. And I was just looking after it, the playthrough that I watched of this that showed the walkthrough of this, particularly just kept taking the fight head on. I probably just should have looked at multiple playthroughs. It was just in the pitch. I mean, really, like, the unfortunate thing is I don't have terribly many tips to help out with this particular boss. My recommendation is just to shoot this guy with the guns as often as possible, because it chips away at his health. And really, as long as you have a health like thing or 2, you should be able to knock this guy out. It's just with the pitch. Just keep shooting. It's just the aspect you'll get towards it. Now, when he does land on the boat, it's just kind of the concept. Obviously, you want to wail on him, really attack him good well, and just have the pitch of just being able to get towards it. But just understand the concept that it's actually the guns that work the most effectively. So, I mean, you can chip away some of his health, but it just doesn't have too much like an after effect in the tone. It's kind of within the pitch behind it. But yeah. That just kind of happens to be the picture. So just talking about some of these extra things with like the music and stuff, just been finding these extra tapes, pitches like that, getting some of these things particularly done. Just within the aspect here, recently completed Davy's Suicide, so it's within the pitch. I mean, there is at least one more project by them, but it's just an EP. It's just within the pitch. I mean, really, the last Davy's Suicide EP is just, it's not like they're not going to put out anything, but at least the things they've done up to this point, I just look after it. There was an EP that they dropped in 2012 that has like a remix song that's not on any of their other projects. I do want to eventually get to that, but in terms of like everything that Davy's Suicide has done, in terms of like the standard context of their album catalog, I've completed it, so it's a good time fair. I reviewed them initially with Jack of Gold King back in 2022, speaking of 2022, so it's just within the pitch as far as wrapping some of that up as well. well as the tone behind it. I would like for them to drop some more music. I mean, I saw on like a Facebook post of theirs a ways back that they said they were working on a 5th album. I just don't know whatever happened to it. It's kind of within the tone, so they are kind of low key within that sense of you need to kind of get some more products, but just don't know as full bound what would go along with that. But just folks like that, I have a Marilyn Manson review that I've got some Marilyn Manson reviews to get to just in the pitch. I mean, it's not like that's happening anytime soon, but there's just some aspects just in that tone or just me thinking of some stuff. I noticed that they dropped an album in 2024, so I want to eventually get to that. It's not going to happen, like, you know, by the time you see that, well, yeah, it'll be February when you see this particular video, but just being able to say it's not, like, the Marilyn Manson 2024 is not going to happen March, April, May, but it is, I am going to start getting to virtually, eventually, some 2024 stuff to bitch, because the only 2024 project I reviewed is, like, Eminem. I just want to start wrapping up some of these type folks, getting folks like Ludacris taken care of, getting more Snoop Dogg albums, pitches like that, some of those type bears, getting some more of these Exhibit ones. That's another one I did recently, was an Exhibit album. I enjoyed that full circle. That was pretty good pitches there. I don't know, just to talk about that particular project, that's just an interesting type project, just because that's kind of one that's off to the wayside. I mean, Exhibit kind of started to go back into like underground territory after like basically like 2002. I mean, he didn't have Eminem and Dr. Dre features after his '02 album. It's just the pitch as far as saying I still feel like he was relatively commercial. He was getting movie gigs back in 2006, '07, so just some good stuff. Did appreciate that concept of just seeing what he could do with that. I mean, it was just really it was disappointing. I remember back in 2000, I really did want Exhibit to drop like an album. There just were certain folks, when I think back to like 2008, 2009, 2010, that I wanted to drop albums, but there just were folks that just kind of didn't. I'm trying to think of some other folks that were kind of like that. I mean, obviously the Dr. Dre Detox album was a big one, but Exhibit was supposed to drop in 2008. I want to say DMX was supposed to drop in 2008. Just folks like that, it was just kind of within the pitch. Like, possibly Obi Trice, that would have been a nice one to have gotten. Because he was going to drop another album on Eminem's label, Shady Records, as far as this pitch kind of went, but for some reason it just got delayed or stuff like that, and it just never happened. I mean, and that's kind of strange about the thing with Obi Trice, is that it felt like he had such good chemistry with Eminem. You would think that he wouldn't have had, like, I don't know, there just were certain folks, like when I think of Eminem's Shady Records, it just kind of feels like the concept as far as saying that they reach like a certain point and then they just drop like a record or two and then that just happens to be it. And it's just kind of a disappointment because, you know, you just don't get the continued product. I mean, I think that there should have been the Shady Records 2008 album, definitely. Cause, yeah, I mean, obviously when you look at Obi Trice today, he's just not still putting out music that commonly. I mean, he is, but there's just not any big names on there. You're never going to see Obi Trice on a song with like Ludacris nowadays, and like, you know, folks like that, like Rich, not Rich, but like someone like, you know, someone trendy nowadays, like a Trey Songz feature, people like that, Akon, some of those type of folks just didn't pitch behind it. Just kind of the tone that just doesn't happen as frequently. Yeah, we got the mission done, so that last little bit there was kind of annoying, just the pitch behind it as far as those fairs going to happen with it. Just kind of the concept it took, like, I was kind of getting annoyed with that because I thought he was going to kill me right before I got those last 2 or 3 shots in that I needed. I basically got all of his health done, so I didn't know what to think there, but that's just the pitch behind it as far as this fair is going to happen. So we're going to get to some more of these missions. So yeah, that was mission 12, so stay tuned for these next few as far as this pitch is going to happen. We're going to get towards it, so subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful night, and stick with this play. There's some more stuff coming on the way.